Adam Schiff faces a fine of $16 million, and President Trump takes an indictment in stride and promises serious repercussions for Democrats in 2024. Hello, I'm Mike Huckabee with your June 15th edition of The Breakdown. Before we get started, if you get to the end of the video and you like it, I hope you'll leave a like and click the subscribe button below. Now, an update on the story from a couple of weeks ago. Representative Anna Paulina Luna has introduced resolutions in the House to expel Adam Schiff and to censure, investigate, and fine him $16 million, which is just half of the cost of the groundless Russian collusion investigation that he relentlessly pushed, all the time lying about having solid evidence.
And whereas it is determined by an investigation conducted by the Committee on Ethics that Representative Schiff lied, made representations, and abused sensitive information, he should be fined the amount of $16 million. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives censures and condemns Adam Schiff, representative of California's 30th Congressional District, for conduct that misleads the American people in a way that is not befitting of an elected member of the House of Representatives.
Ever the opportunist, Schiff is using all these resolutions as a tool to con gullible donors while outrageously posturing as the real victim, even claiming that the resolution is filled with smears and is an attack on him for telling the truth.
The authors of The Big Lie would attack me for telling the truth. It's a resolution filled with Fox talking points and smears, but the real goal is to intimidate, to try to silence critics of the president. It takes issue with me for investigating Donald Trump, for impeaching him, for getting the first bipartisan vote to convict a president in U.S. history. This is an attack on our democracy, even as it's an attack on me and the institution of Congress. But I will never back down. Thank you.
By the way, there were 20 Republicans who voted against his censure, and I have no idea why they want to defend the serial liar, Adam Schiff. One other quick update before the main story today. It was revealed that due to a root canal, President Biden was sidelined on Sunday and Monday, and Kamala Harris filled in for him. I know that may alarm some people, but I've got full faith and confidence that Kamala Harris can be just as incompetent and incomprehensible as Joe Biden any day of the week. So let's pick up the story after the shameful proceedings in Miami on Tuesday, during which President Trump pleaded not guilty on all counts, and talk about the rest of his day, arguably the more interesting part. Trump's motorcade headed right to the airport, but before it got there, stopped at the Cuban restaurant Versailles, which, by the way, is a phenomenal place. If you're ever in Miami, having been there a few times, I highly recommend it, especially the Cuban coffee. And it was there at Versailles where a rabbi led the crowd in prayer. Then Trump shouted, "Food for everyone." Then they were off to the airport for a flight to his Bedminster Golf Club in New Jersey. I imagine Democrats are terrified at the strong turnout of Latinos to support Trump. You better believe they're either going to double their efforts to paint Republicans as racist or declare Latino Republican voters to be white supremacist, or most likely both. At the restaurant, Trump seemed to be in good spirits, but he did share a stark warning.
We have a rigged country. We have a country that's corrupt. We have a country that's got no borders. We have a country that's got nothing but problems. We're a nation in decline, and then they do this stuff. And you see where the people are. We love the people, and you see where they are. You see the crowds and everything else. We have a country that is in decline like never before, and we can't let it happen. I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family. Name a special prosecutor. And all others involved with the destruction of our elections, our borders, and our country itself. They're destroying our country.
Attorney Jonathan Turley, appearing on Fox, did say that the Trump team should not delude itself because the indictment is very serious, and conviction could mean life in prison for him. Having said that, Turley continued saying, even though the Trump team can't lose on a single count without very significant risk, Jack Smith can't lose a single juror. And all the polls out indicate that about half this country views this as it is, a politically motivated case. That's where this jury pool is going to come from. Turley also addressed the prosecution's desire for a speedy trial.
Even though the prosecutors want a speedy trial in 70 days, that is a protection for the defendant, not for the prosecutors. And they would be legally insane not to waive the speedy trial protection. That's going to make this even more difficult because they're going to push it further out towards that 90-day line.
Well, he further conjectured on why Smith is pushing for a speedy trial. Smith is worried that he's not going to be able to get this trial done by election time. And the concern is a real one, because if Donald Trump is elected, he could pardon himself. If any of these Republicans were elected, they could pardon Trump. And then Jack Smith wouldn't see a courtroom with a jury in this case. It's doubtful Jack Smith is going to succeed in this because they brought 31 counts under the Espionage Act. Plus, there's a lot of documents here where you're going to need cleared counsel, as in top security clearance. You're going to have to argue about what can be brought into the trial. And those are all appealable issues, meaning slow, very slow. Jack Smith had the gall to say that there's one law and it applies to everyone. Alan Dershowitz had a great response to that on Sunday Morning Futures this past week.
He was assigned only one job, to get Trump. So here's the legal issue. Let's assume hypothetically that a Democrat prosecutor announces in advance, I'm only going to investigate Republicans. And then the investigation produces some evidence of crime. Is that acceptable? What if a Southern prosecutor in the 50s had said, we're only going to look at black crimes, and then he finds a crime by a black person, while similar crimes are not being prosecuted by white people? Would the courts accept that? That's the key issue presented by this indictment.
Jack Smith may be blind to the injustice in the system, but everyone else can see the double standard of justice playing out. This is the game the Democrats have chosen to play. But we, the people, are ultimately responsible for who wins in the end. And I cannot emphasize enough how massive a move and blunder this whole situation is. There's absolutely no going back from what the Biden administration has done in prosecuting a political opponent and a former president. They've set a precedent in going after political rivals in such a way that is reminiscent of Rome before the fall of the Republic. This is how a free country turns into a dictatorship. But remember, the Democrats are team normal.
On the one side, Democrats, team reasonable, team normal, and team get stuff done.
Right. Well, let's look at the flip side of this story, the treatment of the Biden corruption case. The House Oversight and Accountability Committee, according to South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace, is currently working to get as much information as possible on the Biden allegations, including more bank records and those 17 audio recordings of Hunter and Joe Biden reported to the FBI by a confidential human source. The committee has subpoenaed Hunter's former business partner, Devon Archer, compelling him to testify Friday morning. Also subpoenaed are two banks for Archer's financial records and those of Moscow benefactress Alina Baturina and Rosemont Seneca Thornton. Oh, and in case you missed this from last year, the Daily Mail of the UK reported that financial records revealed $5.2 million in unexplained income for the sitting president. Wow, that number sounds a lot like the amount of the alleged bribe described in the FBI's 1023 form. Expect this to come up a lot more. But the biggest bombshell to hit is that the alleged Biden briber, identified in the 1023 as Burisma founder Mykola Zlochevsky, is believed by the U.S. intel community to be an asset of the SVR, our Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. This knowledge goes back some time. Even President Obama was briefed on it. The U.S. intelligence community has a high degree of confidence in their assessment of Zlochevsky as a Russian foreign intelligence agent. This is not a new assessment. The intelligence community under Obama knew this, and Obama was briefed on it. Joe Biden and Victoria Nuland were briefed on it as well. So not only did the Biden crime family have verifiable and nefarious connections to Ukraine, but they also may have had sordid ties to Russia as well. Recall that it was Ukrainian prosecutor Viktor Shokin who was investigating Burisma and Zlochevsky. And in a phone call he later bragged about, Joe Biden made $1 billion in aid to Ukraine contingent upon Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko firing Shokin immediately.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Need we say more? Cataclysmic is the right word to describe the potential impact of the latest evidence. On Tuesday's Hannity Show, former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker said this would be concrete evidence that would point to actual bribery, actual payments from foreign governments to affect U.S. policy. That, to me, is an absolute game changer. As for Trump's Mar-a-Lago case, he said the case law is very much on President Trump's side. Well, thanks for watching, and if you found this video informative and want to see more like it, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell below. Be sure to tune in to the Live with Mike live stream this Friday. That's tomorrow. We'll cover more of the news, answer your questions that you can send in on the chat. And if you want more of my news analysis and commentary, I hope you have already, but if you haven't, sign up for my newsletter. Go to MikeHuckabee.com and do just that. Comes to your email inbox twice a day, and it's totally free. That'll do it for this edition of The Breakdown. I'm Mike Huckabee.